I'm going to outline a story for you which I suspect is going to be quite new for most people. But look, it's only because Alicanto is really only just getting started. It's a ground floor investment opportunity. We've got a market capitalisation of only $32 million at current share price of about 10.5 cents. We're well funded. We've got $7.5 million in the bank after a successful fundraise late last year of $6 million. And we've also recently defined a resource of 500,000 ounces at our secondary Alicanto project in Guyana. Now, Guyana is not our focus, but Sweden, as Paul mentioned, is definitely our focus going forward and has been over the last 12 months. But I think that these highly prospective tenements, with over 12 high priority targets within 15 kilometres of the world famous Falun mine that was closed in the early 1990s is quite an interesting and exciting project to move forward on. Look, in a nutshell, Alicanto is working to establish a large copper-gold polymetallic inventory in Sweden, in a region that is famous for its giant deposits. It has over 1,000 years of mining history, as Paul mentioned. And in terms of Sweden, look, it's very much like WA. I'm a WA boy myself, but I was lucky enough to spend about 6 years working over there in Sweden, and they're two of my most favourite jurisdictions to mine in. The area hosts two world-class operating mines, the Zinkgruvan mine and the Garpenberg mine over there, and the now closed Falun mine, which abuts right up to the next door to the Greater Falun project. All the areas we are targeting are within a 15-kilometre radius, close to existing infrastructure, and I'll talk about that. And but most importantly, we've already started drilling it. The drill rigs are turning. We had a smaller campaign that we started, 4,000 metres towards the end of last year. We're just completing that now. And the $6 million that we raised is for a much expanded campaign that we'll be starting in the next few weeks. But I think you're just heading into the presentation itself. So on the corporate snapshot, 326 million shares on the register. As I said, a market cap of around $32 million. $7.5 million in the bank, so we're very well funded. So why Alicanto? So look, as mentioned, tier 1 location with a historical high-grade production profile. So the Falun mine, and I'll have a slide in there in a minute which shows that, but that was 28 million tonnes at some extremely high grade. We've also have the Garpenberg mine and the Zinkgruvan mine, which might be a little bit more familiar to people. We've got the right team, we're very well funded. We have 1,000 years of geology turned upside down on its head, and we're drilling now with amazing upside. So as far as the board and management is concerned, look, as I hinted to you at the start, look, some of these guys don't need no introduction. Ray, you would have seen earlier on, is now my chairman as of last year, and it's got a definite Bellevue feel to the team, except for perhaps myself and Eric. Just a little bit on myself. So I spent 6 years, as I mentioned, up in Sweden, working for the big companies up there. And Eric himself has about 6 or 7 discoveries in his own right up in that part of the world. So Sweden is a tier 1 mining jurisdiction. Look, there are 3 major mining districts within the country. You've got the large iron ore mines in the north, you've got the Skellefteå field in the mid-north, and then you've got the Bergslagen district, which sits in and around the Stockholm area in the south. So the Bergslagen is Alicanto's main area of focus. This is world famous as being one of the most mineralised places on earth. And I can back this argument up with a massive high-grade VMS skarn style ore bodies that have been mined in the area over the last 1,000 years. The Garpenberg, Zinkgruvan, Falun and Sala ore bodies are world-class in their metal content, and the importance that they've had to Sweden as a nation, it's unfounded. Many of you might be aware of Sweden's long mining history, and having worked in the country for so many years, I've found it to be many similarities with the Australian mining industry, but its differences to the Australian mining industry are quite stark as well, and what really make it stand out as a tier 1 jurisdiction. I've got a pro-mining, well-educated workforce in place. I've got highways, railways in place. I've got ports in place. My power is already there, probably one of the cheapest in the world with hydro, and my water's free and it's fresh. So then as far as the Greater Falun project itself is concerned, as I said, it's been a very busy 12 months for us. We've highlighted, since the discovery of copper-gold skarn at Wolf Mountain early in the year, we've highlighted or found over 12 new copper-gold and polymetallic skarns within the project. The discovery of that mineralisation at Wolf Mountain and at Lustable, it really sent us down on a path of discovery where we now have more of these 12 targets, all within 15 kilometres of each other. Now, the importance of that being that, the recent drilling campaign that is now coming to a close this month has also been very successful, and we've now defined the stratigraphic sequence that hosts the Farallon ore body itself, and we've managed to hit semi-massive and or disseminated sulphides with visible chalcopyrite in all of our targets so far. The definition of the stratigraphic sequence now allows us to interpret where in the system any outcrop or drill hole is located. This is an important tool to allow us to vector in on the juicier parts of the system. This, of course, is of no surprise to us, with a primary method for discovering ore deposits in Sweden at around the time of the Farallon mine closure in the early 90s was a cheap but effective boulder tracing technique. This has not only scratched the surface at the Bergslagen, but consequently left us with an awful lot to discover within the region. I'll put this slide in here just to show how much that Sweden actually does have mines. So this is the Farallon copper gold mine, which abuts right up to our property. As I mentioned, 28 million tonnes, 4% copper, 4 grams per tonne gold, 5% zinc, 2% lead, 35 grams per tonne silver. This is a phenomenal grades and phenomenal size ore body. The photo also shows the limestone hosted ore body at Farallon, which is in part of the stratigraphic sequence as per the previous slide. It is this stratigraphic sequence that we have now seen over 10 kilometres away in our drilling from late last year up at the Green Mile. And I guess as many as you will know, the best place to look for a large body is along strike from a known one. So into some of the detail on some of the targets we've been drilling. So Wolf Mountain. So as I said earlier, we've intersected disseminated and semi-massive sulphides with visible chalcopyrite in all 5 of the targets that we have now drilled, all within 15 kilometres of each other, and part of the same stratigraphic sequence that hosts the Farallon ore body itself. Now, the Wolf Mountain drilling has shown to us that the alteration system at Wolf Mountain is huge and is getting bigger each time we drill it. Following on from the IP survey that we undertook last summer, we drilled a number of those IP anomalies, and that strong alteration system is now up to 2.5 kilometres long by 1 kilometre wide at surface. Phenomenal. The mineralisation is still distal at this stage, but we're still yet to find the causative intrusion that we believe is driving the heat into the system. But, we now believe it's either to be at depth or potentially a link with the Swamp Thing, which is over 5 kilometres away. So the Green Mile to Farallon. This is quite a large area now. We started drilling at the Green Mile area, and as I mentioned, we've confirmed the stratigraphic sequence, which we can see at the Farallon deposit itself. We can see that at over 10 kilometres away now at the Green Mile itself, which is a very exciting development for us. Together with the intersection of copper gold skarn disseminated sulphides near surface that we hit at the Green Mile, this has really piqued our interest in the area. Now, with the downhole EM of the holes recently drilled, combined with the reinterpretation of geophysical data along the stratigraphic sequence, we're really looking forward to getting more drill holes into this part of the system. Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is really interesting. As I mentioned before, with regards to the proximity, it's only 5 kilometres away from Wolf Mountain. We're actually starting to see some potential links between these two systems, and potentially even the causative intrusion that has created the opportunity at Swamp Thing may even be driving Wolf Mountain. And if that's the case, that gives us a really large alteration system to take a look at. But we had a small section of proximal copper gold semi-massive sulphide skarn with visible chalcol, and the first ever hole drilled into this target. Super excited. Downhole EM is scheduled again for this quarter, and another priority target for us as we move forward. Heathen, another one of our targets that we've highlighted over the last 12 months. We drilled into that, intersected massive pyroxene pro-grade skarn with 5 to 10% sulphides and visible chalco near surface, with the first ever drill holes put into it. Look, after this initial drilling, we've definitely be working on the follow-up downhole EM and reviewing that particular target as a priority for us going forward. So with regards to Lustable, that was a target that we drilled earlier in the process, but this is really what it is. These are the grades that we're looking for. The drilling we undertook at Lustable intersects some very high-grade polymetallic skarn, grades up to 9.5% copper, 16 grams per tonne gold, 285 of silver, 3.9 of lead, and 8.2% zinc. and we're looking for more of these, basically, obviously with a bit more width, but these are the type of grades we're looking for. So moving forward, look, it's simple. We're drilling, and then more drilling for the rest of the year. We're fully funded. We've got $7.5 million in the bank. We've got a big year planned, investigating those targets. We're super excited about the stratigraphic sequence that we're seeing and the potential for a Farallon 2.0 in between Green Mile and Farallon itself. But there'll be more news to come out about that at a later date. So just finishing off there on Sweden and just touching a little bit on Guyana, as I mentioned at the start. So look, a significant exposure to gold for us. This is a project that we've had for quite some years, and I was really pleased to be able to announce late last year the 500,000 ounces at 1.8 grams per tonne in an inferred resource for a maiden independent JORC resource. Can't go into too much detail with regards to what we're doing next with that project, but as I've said before, we're running a process at the moment, and hopefully that will come out in the very near future as to what we're doing there. So in conclusion, look, our story is really simple. We're drilling for copper, gold, polymetallic skarn, and VMS in a world-class mining area with world-class deposits. We have the right team, as I've shown you, and we are well funded for a junior explorer with 7.5 in the bank. We've re-engineered the geology and turned conventional thinking on its head. With the application of modern techniques, the Greater Farallon project is starting to really divulge its secrets. With a market cap of only 32 mil, we only need a little bit of success on the ground. We're aiming for more than a bit, of course, but we really just need a little bit of success on the ground for shareholders to have an awful lot. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Peter. Now, there's been a couple of questions. One person's just asked us, can you tell us what the breakthrough would be here? There's obviously a lot of smoke. What would give you a big breakthrough?
Look, my aim is to, we're really looking for a Farallon 2.0. I think that's, that's a big ore body. What we are seeing, especially between Green Mile and Farallon itself, all the indicators are there. The stratigraphic sequence is what we're looking for. We now understand where the ore was sitting in Farallon. So we're looking for any sort of hits over, I guess you could say, 5 metres and an equivalent 5% copper and up.
So to sum it up, you've got the combination of well-established historical mining at good grades, very good grades, and you've got a lot of smoke with the exploration work you've done so far. So you put the two of them together, and that's what leads you to believe you're on the cusp of something potentially pretty good.
Yeah, well, when you go looking for a big ore body, where do you look? You look near to where there's an existing one. And, if we had the Farallon ore body today, I think, the Pack Partners did some research for us not long ago. And, if the Farallon ore body was still there today, it'd be worth in excess of $1.5 billion. So, that's what we're looking for. So you can imagine a tiny little $32 million market cap going to 1.5 billion. I'll take that any day.
Right. Thanks very much, Peter.
Good on you. Thanks, Paul.